The League of Women Voters Flint area would like to thank Communities First Incorporated for their assistance with recording Flint area candidates for office. And we also want to thank Flint Beat for assisting with these forums. We want to thank you as well for tuning in to the Flint School Board Forum. Unlike legislative forums, each candidate was interviewed separately and no time limit was imposed. Like the legislative forums, however, candidates were instructed to speak only about their own qualifications and not about other candidates or political parties. 15 candidates filed for a seat on the board. All were invited to do an interview. 13 responded. 12 completed an interview and one was unable to due to a family medical situation. 5 seats, and therefore 5 votes, are available. You may wish to take some notes as you decide which 5 you will select. Then.
Got it.
Okay, Mr. Luna, we're going to begin our 6 questions with what has prepared you for these responsibilities?
Yeah, so I'll just talk about myself, both my personal and professional experience. I'm from Flint, Michigan, born and raised. One of the reasons I chose to attend Michigan State University and being involved in their James Madison College program was my education. I couldn't read until I was in 4th grade. My mother changed schools and it kind of like flipped my trajectory as far as my student achievement. But when I went to Michigan State, I studied public policy with a focus on economics and educational policy. And I thought I was going to law school, but I figured it'd be beneficial to have some kind of classroom experience. So through Teach for America, I became a certified K-12 Spanish teacher and also elementary education. So I taught in Chicago, 2 years in Detroit doing K-8 Spanish, and about 1.5 years in Flint doing elementary education. And I also got my degree from the University of Ann Arbor in urban education and urban pedagogy. So I think my classroom experience is very key. I spent 3 years working in 5 states doing educational policy, including Michigan. During that time also, I served on a charter school board in Southfield, Michigan. I earned my Master of Business Administration and Marketing, Innovation Management. And I've always kept my ear close when it comes to educational issues, both from a practice as a practitioner, but also from a policy perspective. In my current role, I work in economic development as a manager, and I manage the city and county's attraction efforts when it comes to new capital, investments, and jobs. So all that to say, I think my personal experiences, my educational background, and my professional experience give me a pretty good grounded view as a board member. And also, I'm very passionate about students in the city as well, so that drives my candidacy and my passion.
Okay. Do you have ideas on how to maintain or increase student enrollment?
Yes, I mean, I think that's the biggest issue because enrollment is tied to our funding. And one of the biggest ways that we can begin to attract and then retain the students we have is by having a better board with better leadership. I mean, the current board is dysfunctional. And when you have such dysfunction, it not only scares away parents, families, and teachers, but it doesn't really attract folks who want to invest in our school system, either via their time as a staff, as a parent, or as a potential donor to support programmings. But one of the best ways we could do that is, of course, having a new board. There's a unique chance to elect 5 new members this fall, but also we have to have better facilities. And that goes for both our existing buildings, but also our 22 properties that are blights in our neighborhood. So we have 22 vacant properties. Some have structure, some don't. So getting that kind of taken off our books, either through sale and or demolition or redevelopment, but really having better facilities, especially in new high school, I think will begin to attract new people to our district. Because I mean, there's 15,000 students roughly who live in the city of Flint, and less than 3,000 or right around 3,000 choose to attend our schools. So it really is a trust issue.
Okay, thank you. Do you have, excuse me. How is the role of a school board member different from that of a superintendent?
First off, they pay the superintendent a full salary and package of benefits, but really, as a board trustee, you're a volunteer member, but your job is to govern. Whereas a superintendent, much like a city manager, their job is to run the day-to-day operations of the district. As a board member, I believe your job is to govern and create the environment to help not only him be successful, but the staff and students as well.
Okay. Do you have any other responsibilities that might interfere with your attendance at meetings?
I don't think so. In my current role, I have a very public-facing job, and it lends to a role as an elected official. At my company, we have several folks who serve on different boards, commissions, and I don't think it'd be an issue. I don't have any children. I am engaged, but I think I'll be able to compartmentalize my different responsibilities when it comes to a professional and personal life.
Okay. So have you or will you be taking the school board training?
Yes, of course. I mean, I always believe in continuous learning. One of my favorite books by a guy by the name of Stephen Covey, it's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And habit number 7 is sharpening the saw. So always learning new things and kind of keeping you up to date on what's going on in the world and your career. So I definitely will take the board training.
Okay. And the last question, what do you think are the most important issues that Flint schools are facing?
I would say some are cross-sectional. So number one, enrollment. That's tied with our budget and finance issues. But my priorities are really creating safe and learning-centric facilities, kind of having robust wraparound services. So things not only for students and staff, but things for families and members of the community. So kind of really revitalizing the whole community school model. Number 3, fight for more equitable funding. So as a board member, you don't really have as much of a say when it comes to per pupil funding, but having a good relationship with the legislature and our local legislators can help us get more funding for our students, especially after the Flint water crisis. But also, there's so much student learning that's been lost because of COVID. So funding is key to helping close that gap. 4th, advocating for a more engaging, inclusive curriculum, where that be how we teach our students history and how that's honestly taught, but also having diverse programs as relates to skilled trades, world languages, and also how much autonomy we give teachers and school leaders to teach their subjects, because they're the experts, not the board members. And then finally, empowering educators. I think it's worth doing an analysis of how much teachers are paid when it comes to charter schools in the city, neighboring school districts, but also very similar districts with similar demographics like a Pontiac or a Saginaw, and really seeing how we can increase compensation, keep our current teachers, but also attract new teachers who want to stay and work in our schools. But again, that goes to not only just compensation, that goes into having better support from the board, or the board not getting in the way of teaching, but also having better buildings. I mean, I coached cross country and track this past spring and then last fall. And I did it at a school, and the school building wasn't in the best shape, from the parking lot to the building, and students and teachers have to be in there all day. And really, I think that's the key to a lot of this. So real quickly, safe and learning-centric facilities, robust wraparound services, equitable school funding, engaging inclusive curriculum, and then empowering our teachers and staff. Those are my priorities.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. As I've been telling our participants, we really appreciate the fact that you're stepping up to want to serve the community and being willing to be part of the process so that the voters can actually see the individual candidates and know who they are. Sometimes go ahead.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, there are 5 seats up, 3 full 6-year terms, a partial 4-year term, and a 2-year partial term. So when I decided to run back in March of 2022 this year, I really wanted to get a team together to run as a slate. So I'm running for the 6-year partial term, but also Emily Dorr and Melody Rutherford are also running for those seats. But for the 4-year partial term, Teray King Jr. is running, and for the 2-year partial term, Michael Clack is running. So I think for a good team, I would love voters to really take time to really study us and vote for us and support our slate.
Okay, well, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, Mr. Del Marone.
Good afternoon.
We have six questions.
Okay.
And the first one is, what has prepared you for these responsibilities?
Well, over the years, I've attended Flint Community Schools school board meetings, going back to when they're held at the Sarvis Center. And then, they would sometimes have remote meetings at Flint Central, Flint Northwestern. So it's been many years that I've attended the meetings. And, I wasn't attending during COVID or, maybe, I don't know, a few years before that. But so that would be one thing. I've volunteered for Special Olympics at their state summer and winter games. Summer games are held on the campus at Central Michigan University, and the winter games are in northern Michigan. I've volunteered in the classrooms, not in the Flint district, but I knew someone that was in one of the out-county districts. And so I volunteered there helping elementary students with their reading and multiplication tables. I think those just, background knowledge of, some historical stuff that went on. In 2008, I was appointed to the school board's the school district's facility planning committee. There's probably about 12, 15 of us on the committee. We went to the schools to look at the conditions of them, to look at population, where the students are living. And, some schools had to be closed back then. We're kind of in the same situation now, doing the same thing. Asking, the superintendent and that for cost as to what it would take to tear down buildings or rehab them or build new, just, whatever needs to be done so we have the information to make an informed decision. I was appointed to the school board last year at the end of September, 1st of October. I've been through some training. Don't know everything yet. Haven't been presented everything, but just working that way.
Okay. Do you have some ideas on how to maintain or increase student enrollment?
Well, that's a difficult thing. I think we can do it with building some new buildings. One of the first things I said after my appointment, even during the interview, was that if you build it, not only will they come, but they'll stay and return. Now, it takes more than just the building. You need to have the fundamentals inside the building. Teachers, administrators, curriculum. But, some of the buildings over the years have been in poor condition. We've heard in the media about, cold classrooms, hot classrooms, and children, it makes it hard for the children to learn in that type of environment. Parents don't like it. Our parking lots are in disarray. And this stuff has not just happened since I've been appointed to the board, but this is years in the making. I mean, Central has been closed for years now, over a decade. Washington School has burnt down. We just received an estimate last week, I believe it was, $3 million to tear Central Whittier down. Hundreds of thousands to clean up the site over at Washington. Just received that. I think it was last night or early this morning. So I think it starts with the building, the curriculum, teachers, administrators. And I'm not saying there's a problem with the teachers or administrators. I'm just saying that's what it takes. But in Flint's case, our schools need to be helped. And I believe, in my opinion, it's a problem larger than what Flint, the district, can take on, just because of the number of buildings that need to be taken down and or sold. We just got some bids this week as to purchasing properties. So as a board, we need to go through that, and we will. We'll go through that list of buildings that are available to be sold, which we received bids on, and see if they're competitive and, you know, if the value is there to sell it.
Okay. How is the role of the school board member different from that of a superintendent?
Well, the school board members are the employers of the superintendent. The school board only hires one person, and that's the superintendent. I'll say the board gives maybe direction, and the superintendent and his staff carries it out. So we're not there on the day-to-day operations of the building or what's going on in the classroom. It's up to the superintendent to make sure those things happen that the board, let me say, request. So, you know, if we're looking for a bid on a building, the board or the board president cannot go out and put out a request for proposal, an RFP. It's the superintendent and his or her staff that needs to do that. So employer versus employee. Employer being the school board, the employee being the superintendent.
Okay. Do you have any other responsibilities that could interfere with your attendance at meetings?
No, I've attended, I believe, all the meetings. We have they call it COW, Committee of the Whole, and then the regular board meeting. The Committee of the Whole is on the second Wednesday of the month, and the third Wednesday of the month is the board meeting. So I believe I've been to all of the board meetings. I think I missed one Committee of the Whole meeting. So, yeah, no, I haven't had a problem. I don't foresee a problem. You know.
Okay, thank you. Have you or will you be taking the school board training?
Yes, I have been taking it. We had a training, let me say, session. It was last month, I believe, for 2 or 3 days in Muskegon. We have another one coming up here shortly in Traverse City. Last year there was one in Grand Rapids, so I took advantage of all those, let me say, sessions, meetings, training.
Okay. So now we're down to the last question.
No.
What do you think are the most important issues that Flint schools are facing?
I'm going to say declining enrollment. The other would be the condition of our buildings. The district is short on teachers and staffing. Pay is important. We just voted to reopen the pay agreement of the contract with the paraprofessionals. So, you know, and overall, it's just the lack of money for what needs to be done. I mean, that's a costly expense for the district to tear down all those buildings. And then we have we're under a time limit, a time frame for the ESSER funds, which is similar money to the ARPA funds that Flint City Hall has received. They're different monies to be spent in different ways. I've tried to collaborate with the Flint City Council and the administration. So as the community outreach chairperson, I was able to bring in the then current city council president 1 week, and then the 1 month, and then the following month I brought in the mayor to see if there's some type of collaboration that City Hall and the school board can do, the school district, to better use the ARPA funds, which the city has received, and the ESSER funds, which the district has received.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your interview today. We appreciate you being involved. And although there's only 5 spots open, we thank all of the candidates for being interested and engaged with the community and really wanting to do a good thing. So thank you very much for joining us. Good morning. This morning we have Claudia Perkins with us for the Flint School Board interviews. Claudia, what has prepared you for these responsibilities?
Well, I'm a union rep at the highest level. So I've negotiated contracts. I've used Robert's Rules of Order. I have fought for this entire city as I'm an original water warrior. I have been in the school system. I've sat on many boards like the YWCA and the Ombudsman's Advisory Board. I have raised 3 children in the public schools. I have been around the world in the news media. I have led 12 major strikes, been hit with tear gas on picket lines. There's not much I haven't done in this community. All that is preparation. And I also am certified in any number of areas, such as leadership skills, things like that, paid educational leave programs up at Black Lake, negotiating classes, all of those kinds of things.
Okay, thank you. Do you have ideas on how to maintain or increase student enrollment?
Yes, I would like to put on programs in the community that would showcase things that we should be negotiating on to help draw people back into the community, like classes. I am familiar with many. I have many friends that are retired skilled tradesmen in the UAW that I've already talked to and asked them if we got a building or if we were going to put on programs, would they be willing to come and help train the youth? And I think that would be an attraction for not only the youth, but the parents too, because I know they're guiding their children in, their futures.
Okay. How is the role of a school board member different from that of the superintendent?
From the superintendent works for the board. And so I'm sure that all the negotiating that's going on, they would actually have to run by the superintendent, but he's there to help and assist. And it's like, I'm just giving you an example, the city council. Everybody thinks that the mayor makes the decisions on where the money goes. He does not. It is the council that does that. The mayor just oversees, he's an administrator. So it's sort of like that in comparison.
Okay. Do you have any other responsibilities that might interfere with your attendance at meetings?
I do not. I am a retiree from the UAW of 36.3 years. So no, ma'am.
Okay. And have you or will you be taking the school board training?
I'll take any training that's going to help me do the job better.
Okay. And this is the last question. what do you think are the most important issues that Flint schools are facing?
Far as I'm concerned, I'm a public school person. I advocate for public schools. I advocate for funding in the schools. And if they had been funded properly, in my mind, they would have not gotten dilapidated and run down as they did. If you don't put something into a situation, you can't get anything out of it. So now we're left with abandoned buildings that are molding out, being vandalized, those kinds of things. And we've got to cut that umbilical cord and fix it and turn things around so that this community can thrive again and grow again. I'm very passionate about the school board because I remember how it was, and I want to make sure that our community is built back up like I remember it when I went to public schools. So I'm going to fight to turn this place around, to make it better. We can do better if we work as one unit and one voice.
Well, thank you, Claudia. We appreciate your interview today. And we will be posting these probably in about a week or so. And they'll get posted to our Facebook pages. And also they will be shown in the Voter Outreach Center.
Okay.
So
thank you for your time and for